of this amount of money. And there was like, yeah, that's fine. So they went in the back, went to do a cash check. They said it was showing a £45,000 short. So I said, look, the only way we're going to resolve this is by doing an audit. So they agreed. So they got contacted the auditors. They came in the following day. But when I left the office that day, they removed the keys from me, told me I wasn't allowed to enter the premises. And at first I was relieved. I was relieved because I thought they're gonna find the issue and I'm gonna go back to work. And what it became it just didn't work that way. I was called to an interview on the 1st of June and told me, it was just a chat just to see what's been going on. No need to bring anybody with you, but if you do, they can't speak or they'll be asked to leave. And I went to the interview, and it was as soon as I walked into there, I knew at that point that it was more of a legal thing, because all there was, they basically sat me down, read me my rights, and just ploughed into me on what did I do with the money? Is it because it's done my lifestyle? The interview lasted about 3 hours, and then I didn't hear anything. I was suspended without pay, pending investigation. Didn't hear anything. Received a letter in the post in the August of 2006, sorry, to say that I was being summoned to court. The office was my responsibility and the shortfall was my responsibility. And I could either pay the shortfall, but I'd have still been taken to court anyway. And then I attended the magistrates' court, where I was advised to take the offer. They'd offered me a guilty plea. So it was a guilty plea for false accounting, but not guilty plea for the theft. So my legal team said, it's the best thing. So I did what they said. They said it would avoid prison. So I went to court again in the January 2007, the Hull Crown Court, and that was for a probationary report. The probationary report came back as being untrustworthy because I wouldn't accept what I'd done wrong. So on the 2nd of February 2007, I was given an immediate custodial sentence of 9 months. It was one of the worst days of my life. Luckily, I don't remember a lot of it, but I do remember bits of it. I think my memory is more to do with going into the prison, being fingerprinted, picture taken, being degraded by having to go behind a screen and remove all your bottom clothing and squat over a mirror so they can make sure you're not concealing anything. Telling my kids that I was not going home, which was the hardest thing ever. Couldn't speak to them on the phone. And I also took the view at that point to not let my children come to prison. It was the only memory I could control. It was hard enough me not being there and being taken away from them. I felt like I'd let them down. I felt like a failure. But trying to plead your innocence to people, and especially when it comes to the post office, because of the institution that is, it was this trusted brand that everybody trusted. So if anything was wrong in any office, regardless of where it may be up and down the country, if money was missing, it was your responsibility. It was your fault. And people and the general public look at people in relation to the post office at that time. You worked with money, you're a thief. That's all people branded you as. It took me from 2006 to 2020 to have my case referred from the CCRC, which I applied for back in 2015. So it took 5 years for the CCRT to actually refer the case to the Court of Appeal. I was unaware of that when the case was referred. I just thought it was going to be overturned. Didn't realise again that we had to fight our own individual cases through the Court of Appeal. It was at that point that I learned that what I'd actually pleaded guilty to was to theft. I'd never actually been told that it comes off under the Theft Act as false accounting. which is probably the reason why I was sent to prison. It's still an ongoing issue. We are still fighting this big corrupted organisation. We're not just fighting the post office, we're fighting their legal teams, we're fighting the government. It literally is just a fight for everything. I haven't been compensated. They keep rejecting an interim application, which now the post office is just basically kicking the can down the street and saying we're waiting for it to go over to DBT. It's just it tears your life apart. I mean, 2007 was the prison sentence. I lost my house. Came out of prison, didn't get a job because I had an ankle tag on for about 5 months. And then 2008, physically, how it's affected me was I had another court hearing in 2008. They came after me for proceeds of crime, and I was summoned to court. I was arrested, put in cells for the day. I was looking at a 5-year prison sentence for non-payment of compensation to the post office. Went through numerous court hearings and finally accepted that I just didn't have any money. And 10 days after it concluded, I was admitted into hospital. I had a infection on my spinal cord. My immune system had broken down due to the stress, and I was paralysed from the neck down, and I was told I would never walk again. It's taken me a long time to work, to learn to walk, to learn to adapt to things that I can't do. So with things that I can't do, I sort of try and do it in a different way. It's affected everything in my life. I've never been able to work again. I've spent obviously 3 months in prison, 4 months in hospital. So I mean, going to hospital was again like going back to prison because you just basically I was dependent on other people, and I had my own independence taken away from me. You grow with this stigma of people pointing fingers at you, of oh, that's that person who stole from the post office, and that's that person who nicked all the pensioners' money. I've heard so many things, been called so many names, and I've learnt to just brush them off. But the Court of Appeal was the stand of when we stood outside and we said, "Do you know, finally, we're not guilty. Somebody's listening to us, but you still feel guilty." And what people don't realise is what an injustice does is, yes, you may be freed from prison, and yes, you may be able to move on with your life, but you are left with a lifetime sentence of the memories that have been created, and you will never get rid of those memories.